Okay, Sanctuary Systems 104. We are going to talk about shutting everything off and some troubleshooting tips. This may not make any sense to you if you haven't seen the earlier videos, so do check those out. Okay, so when you are turning things off after a worship service or event, you basically just want to do everything in reverse order of how you turn things on. It's not quite as important to get the sequence right, but the important things are turning off the main speakers should be one of the first things you do. Remember, that's the switch back in the circuit breaker box. Turn off the computer before turning off the projectors. Turn off the speaker amplifiers before turning off the master rack switch. The master rack switch really should be one of the last things you turn off. The order of turning off the rest of the stuff is less important, but it's still important to do it so that everything is how it's expected to be for the next person who comes in. Don't forget to return everything to where it was or where it should have been. That means the streaming camera and the tablet are back at the tech table plugged in and charging. Any remotes are where they should be and that sort of thing. Okay, let's talk about some tips and troubleshooting. Let's say things are wonky and you're not sure why. Maybe the projectors look flip-flopped, or the tablet isn't connecting to the mixer, or any number of weird things. The best thing to do is to turn everything off, wait a minute, say a prayer, and turn everything back on again in the right order. A lot of times that will solve the problem, and giving the technology a little extra prayer never hurts either. There's also some stuff you should know about all the various Wi-Fi connections. So the computer and the Mevo streaming camera both need to be on the same Wi-Fi network. And that network is called LCC AV. The camera will almost certainly default to that network, but the computer may not. If not, click the Wi-Fi button in the menu bar and choose the one that says LCC AV. Checking and changing the Wi-Fi connection on the Mevo is more complicated, but we will cover that in the videos about the streaming system. The mixer is connected to the tablet over Wi-Fi as well, but it's not one of the same networks connected to the internet. The Soundcraft UI24 mixer actually creates its own Wi-Fi network, and the tablet connects to that. The tablet should automatically connect to the mixer if the mixer is on, but if not, you'll want to make sure that the tablet is connected to the network called Soundcraft UI. The Wi-Fi icon will show an exclamation point on the tablet, like there's an error, but that's okay. It just means it's not actually connected to the internet. It might seem counterintuitive, but think of it like this. The tablet connects to the mixer, not to the internet. That understanding will also help the mixer interface make sense, because the mixer interface on the tablet is actually just a website, basically, hosted by the mixer itself. I'm getting ahead of myself because there will be a lot more about the mixer in later videos, but the thing to note here is that the mixer interface is in the Google Chrome app. In other words, if you don't see the mixer interface on the tablet, don't go looking for a mixer app. Just launch Chrome, and if it's not already loaded, type ui-mixer.io into the address bar. That will load the device selection screen, where you can choose the large screen option, and that should take you into the mixer interface. Okay, the last thing I'll say about the Wi-Fi is this. You shouldn't ever have to turn off or on the routers. But if you do need to reset one for some reason, the LCC AV router, the one that connects the computer and the camera to each other and the internet, that router is on the stage by the drums. It was the best location for stable connectivity. The mixer router is just the mixer itself. It can be reset by resetting the mixer. But if you do that, just make sure that the speakers and amps are all off first. There are some other routers around, but those aren't part of the AV system, so don't worry about those. I bet you thought this video couldn't get any longer, but it can. Here's a handful of other quick tips. Tip number 1. If the tablet isn't letting you in, like you typed the correct lock screen code, but it just takes you back to the lock screen again. It happens. Hold the power button on the tablet to restart it. It should work fine after a restart. Tip number 2. The projector remote works for both projectors. You probably already figured that out. But did you know that there's an extra projector remote at the tech table? just in case the one in the backstage room has gone missing. Speaking of the projector remotes, turning off the projectors sometimes takes a few tries. If the projector isn't responding to the remote, try getting close to the wall or even pointing the remote at the wall. Press the power button once and you'll get a confirmation alert. Press it again and the projector will turn off, or technically standby. Lastly, if pressing the blackout button on the DMX controller doesn't turn the stage lights on, don't forget that you can also try pressing Scene 1, the Scene 1 button. We'll cover the lighting system in more detail in another video, but just know that Scene 1 is set to turn on all the typical stage lights, and Scene 2 actually is set to turn them off. So besides the blackout button, those two scene buttons are another way of getting the lights on or off. Whew, that's a lot. Thanks for sticking with me. The next set of videos is going to be all about the visual presentation system, so get excited.